Do it.
Okay.
There's Andy.
What's going on, fellas? Hey, dude. What's
Hey,
up,
buddy.
man? Oh, not a lot. Hey, sorry, it may be a little loud. I'm walking in from the warehouse here.
That's okay.
That's loud. That's okay. You were talking about people asking questions. I've only looked around on here a little bit. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I know when you're in the bottom, you can like raise your hand or something.
Yeah, we'll ask at the end. But I think us three will get it fired up and we'll get into it. Okay. So,
Sounds good.
you guys ready? Oh, there's Drake. Okay. All right, guys, it's Friday. I'm sitting here with our esteemed panel of experts throughout the country about scrap metal. And we're going to dive into some new topics today. I like doing the...
I'm an expert. In case you didn't know, I am an expert in scrap metal.
That's what I said. A PhD in scrap. I love it. So I think we have to discuss. It wasn't. I picked a topic for this one. I don't know if you guys read that. I kind of wanted to dive into culture, not just culture within the business, just like the culture of a scrapper. You know, I kind of wanted to just dive into that. I've always found that interesting, but I think we gotta address how crazy copper's been this week.
That's not a culture topic, but yes, that is fun.
It's not, but I gotta talk about it. Like, we're north of $4, and it just feels insane.
I had a small wager with a buddy of mine that it would go above $4, so I won that bet. This is a bet that I made in the way beginning of January.
Oh wow, that was
I just had a hunch.
What do you win? Dinner?
But I didn't win any extra money on my scrap metal because we've sold it all at $360, $370, $380, whatever.
So I'm trying to sell a brass load. Myself and Brett are trying to sell a brass load right now, and we're kind of finding that like a lot of seems like the pricing is the same as it was when it was $380, and now it's 406.
Well, what happens is, or at least what I've noticed, is when the market flies up so quickly, the consumers are not ready to consider it solidified at that number.
Yep.
So I'm using air quotes, widen their spreads so that until they feel comfortable that the market is sticking that high.
And that's how I understand it too. They're just building some safety in there. And, and I get that. They think, it goes up that quick. There's
It could drop as quick tomorrow.
It could drop as quick. There's typically, you see an adjustment almost always. Like, you see it go up 10, and the next day you always see it go, dip 3 cents, something of that nature, But this week, this year has been just, like, real good non-ferrous. The markets on all non-ferrous have been real strong. So.
Yes, definitely.
Well, let's dive in, to culture. Like, culture is, it's a word that's thrown around a lot. I think people are always trying to make a good culture with their own employees and a place of work. And I like to think we have a great culture here, and it takes time, it takes effort. But another thing I'd like to get into in culture is just the culture of the customer. Like, I think the scrapper
That's the funniest thing whenever I describe it to anybody.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. Like, scrappers are their own breed, and I consider all of us on the panel like scrappers as well, We're our own breed, and then you got, like, the guys that are bringing in, like, the peddler scrap. There's a lot of different words for it. Obviously there's the commercial end where we're handling as a business, as a company. And I just kind of wanted to pick your guys' brain, how culture is in your area, and if it's kind of the same throughout the country on those two levels, on your culture as a business and your culture as a customer base. So
I mean, we deal with the whole gamut. So, like, our scale man, who is basically the face of our company, he's the one that basically is the cashier at a restaurant or whatever.
Yeah.
He's dealing with the lowest of the scum of the earth.
Yeah.
All the way up to a business owner that, could be a multimillionaire.
Yep.
That guy wants to bring in his own scrap, which happens from time to time. So he needs to be trained on how, and I keep, like pounding, kill him with kindness.
Yep.
So I really try to keep that kind of, culture of just everybody being super nice to each other, to everybody. These people pay our bills. We don't make money without them. Now, granted, some of the time we're not in the super customer satisfaction business where the customer's always right, because I'm sure all of you know we try to get scammed and taken every single day.
Yep. I think you gotta. I put a 90.
It's a very fine line.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I like going back to that. I want to keep 90% of the customers happy, because I know there's that 10% that are trying to do things the wrong way or trying to scam you. So like you can't keep them all happy, and that's true in any business. You can't keep them all happy. You gotta have your own procedures, your own methods that you have to stand by. If it's in regards to safety or if they're trying to hide. We've had it all. Like we've had copper pipe and they pinch the ends off and fill it with sand.
Sure.
That guy's not gonna be happy because I'm gonna empty that sand and I'm gonna lower his price.
Right.
So that guy falls in the 10%. But I'm not gonna buy sand for $3 a pound.
No, of course not. And then going further on the culture, I want everybody to be the team, the crew, to all be happy and working together and want to help each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's including me. So like, for instance, I'm going through a bit of a struggle right now with one of our seemingly bigger, better plants that we service and have multiple dumpsters at. The driver is continuing to tell me, this is in a bad position here. This is causing me, extra time at the plant. And the plant is not willing to work with me whatsoever when there is plenty of room to put the dumpsters in a different spot. So on one hand, we're in the service industry and you want to keep your customers happy. You want to do what you can for them. But on the other hand, how much do you want to continue to push a driver to do something that is causing him harder work and more time and pushing you behind and potential catastrophe to your equipment? So it's a very tough situation when you're trying to create a culture of where, you want to keep everyone happy, even the customer and
your driver
at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, what do you do?
That's
a tough one.
We run into that too. You said that your scale house operator is like the face of your business. So is your driver. That driver's going to your most important accounts.
But he's saying, he's complaining to me. He's not complaining to the plant. And it's not falling on deaf ears.
Yeah.
But, it's a very tough situation. Because on one hand, it's a really good customer, but you don't want to lose any customer. But at some point, you have to pick and choose. Hopefully you're in a situation where you can pick and choose and be like, you know what? I know we make good money off this guy, but it's not worth the hassle of the driver. It's not worth the potential catastrophe on your equipment.
Because that guy is he's hurting your culture too. Like that goes back to culture. Right. He's hurting your employee culture. Your driver. It sounds like this driver you trust. You trust his opinion, and if he's been there a long time.
I've also, like I said, I'm handling it. I've been there. I can tell that it's not a good situation and that there's legitimately no reason for it to be this way. I can't comprehend why they're being so stubborn about it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they're making it impossible for us because they want us to mess up, or which is just me going down a terrible rabbit hole. But I can't comprehend why they won't help us help them. Like their garbage dumpsters. Why would their garbage dumpsters be in an easier spot than the scrap guy? We pay them. Wouldn't they want to make our life easier because we're paying them?
Well, and
anyways, that's a little off topic. The culture.
No, I like it.
Is that I'm kind of stuck in between a hard place where you want to do customer service very well, but you also want to continue to make life better for your people.
Yeah, you got to find that balance because we'll run into situations, and I'll say this a lot to potential customers. I'll say, I want to meet you to make sure we're the right fit for each other. And I believe that 100%. I want to make sure we're the right fit on our culture, on, make sure they have the material, make sure we can take care of them. I don't want to just blindly send like a container over there and then, it's the wrong size or it's just not something we would do, or maybe they need another service. So sometimes there's customers that I've had to tell, no, like this just isn't going to work, unfortunately, but I always try to provide a different solution. If it's a different type of company, if it's someone else that might be willing to do that, and then
I absolutely get that.
And I do want to go back real quick before I forget. I love how you brought up the scale house culture, how they deal with the lowest of low and business owners. And one thing from training different people over here into that job, because that could be a tough job to teach people. They're doing a lot of things. They're answering the phones. They're punching the scale. They're paying customers. They're pricing material. They're dealing with, complaints or arguments.
Right.
And so I got a quick story. We had a guy that was kind of new in the scale house. He was learning. He called me. He's like, hey, man, this guy's just being an asshole to me. It's like one of the drivers for this trucking company. And I know this customer. It's a good customer of ours. He hauls a lot of scrap for demo companies. So he hauls a lot of scrap for really good customers. And he comes across his own scrap from time to time. And I've been dealing with him for years. So I told our scale house operator, I'm like, well, explain the driver to me. And he explained him. And he explained the owner to me. But he's a guy you would look at, and if you didn't know who he was, you might not know he's the owner. And I told him, I'm like, hey, man, like, just so you're aware, like, that's the owner. Like, so I think it's important to never assume something. And I'm not saying bend over backwards just because he's the owner. And really what it was is our guy was assuming he was just a driver and he wasn't listening to his direction. But I was like, hey, that guy actually knows what he's doing. And he probably was just trying to get like a scale ticket from you and get out of your hair. So we always kind of joke about that. And now they're like, now they're good. After going through that, like if anything, their relationship's stronger. But I always like use that as an example, like treat the janitor just like you would treat the owner. That's going to get you far in life, Like treat them the same. Like treat everyone with that mutual respect, and you just never know where one person's going to lead you to. Like you never know who that person knows. Like, and that's where like this service, like I tell everyone at all our yards, like I want the customers to leave happier than they came. Is that going to happen? Like to all of them? No, it's not. Like you got that 10% in there that might not happen to, but 90% of people, they should be happier. Like give them a good experience, pay them well. They're leaving with money. Like usually when people get cash or a check, they're happier, and the culture is also important to keep strong, to keep your good employees around, man, because we know how hard it is to find good employees,
Virtually, I haven't found anybody new in a while.
So you're like, how many people do you have over there, Mikey, that have worked there for more than a year?
I think pretty much everybody except for, no, I shouldn't say that. There's 1, 2. So we just hired a new steel scale, the truck scale guy just a couple weeks ago. So there's 1, 2, 3. I think 3.
Okay, that's good. And then, I mean, those guys.
Everybody else has been here for several years.
Oh, gotcha. So you guys got you. To me, that tells you got a good culture. You've got a good core group.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
You got a core group that wants to stick around, and that's because ownership and management is taking care of them, and that's important. Like to listen to your customer, like how you listen to your driver. You listen to them, and you're you're not just taking the customer side because you're worried about the dollar. You know, you're worried about making a dollar. You're worried about the long term. Like,
absolutely.
Like, and that's what we worry about. Like, I want it to all fit. I want everyone to get along. I want us to provide the best service possible and do it the most efficient way so we can take care of all our other customers, you know. But you have to be willing to sit down with your people and really listen to them. If you're not willing to sit down and listen, and then once you listen, by actually coming up with a plan, you know. And sometimes hard decisions come by that. Like, you know, maybe we've had customers in a similar story to yours, like, where we've had to go separate ways. Because, like, us as a business, like, it just wasn't working because our other customers were getting ignored, or, like, you know, like, I can't wait there 2 hours to exchange your container when I've got 4 other customers, like, needing it so their manufacturing line can continue, you know?
Right, exactly.
So, like,
that's exactly right.
And that's, like, mainly what I wanted to get into. I wanted to, you know, we're over up here in the West Coast, you know, Pacific Northwest and Idaho. And you're over there in Detroit. Is that correct? Right?
That's right, yeah.
Detroit. And I just kind of like to, you know, and that's my goal, is to get more and more people from different areas of the country on here to kind of discuss what they're seeing, what they're hearing. And more of like a...
I mean, at the end of the day, all my people are just like family. I can't drive the truck, work the material handler, bail. And I can't do all the same jobs I can't do all the jobs at the same time. So without every piece of the puzzle, the whole thing stops.
Yeah.
So everybody's important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important for business owners and management to make sure they know they're important too. I think that's where the heart of a bad culture comes from, is not, even if you know they're important, if they don't know that you know, like, that's where that could start, where he gets like, God, they don't even care about me. Like, I'm just here. I'm just here to clock in, clock out, move some scrap around, load trucks, and go home. Like, you know, like what, and that's where, like, the communication comes in. Maybe develop a plan for their long-term growth within the company where they could do other things, you know, and then go from there. So I appreciate your insight on that, Mr. Foon, and
you're welcome.
And how is the scrap flow over there? How's the weather over there?
So we got pounded with some snow on Tuesday or Monday night. We were closed on Tuesday.
Okay.
We probably could have just opened a little late, but the flow of scrap peddler walk-in trade into the yard has really fallen off since February.
Yeah.
It was slower in January, but really fallen off recently. So for us to close down was okay. We got a little bit of snow again yesterday, but, you know, nothing. So far, it's been a pretty mild winter other than the one day. It's been freezing cold, but, you know, that's
normal over there, right?
Yeah, that's figured. But, yeah, it's starting to, you know, the snow has started this week, and seeming to be some pockets here and there that might hinder driving capabilities and flow of scrap outbound to the mills. And hopefully that will, you know, the East Coast getting pounded and Texas getting pounded, hopefully that helps to drive up the price next month.
Yeah, I mean, everything's pointing to an up market in March, so we're excited. Yeah, we're excited to see that. I mean, I think a lot of people. The last episode on here, Mikey, that we talked about how it kind of went down, and, like, no one really agreed it should go down. At least a bunch of scrapyard owners.
I understand why it went down, because we all unloaded as much as we could in January. So the mills got their appetite, you know, filled. But I knew that there would be a lull in February because everybody jammed it out, so nobody's hurting for space and cash because it's all coming in February. So then the mills are going to be not getting their appetites filled. So we're right back into a little bit of a cycle with them needing scrap again in March.
Yep.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we got about, week and a half left before we know that. So, well, Andy, do you have anything to add?
He muted. Where are you at, buddy? I'm back. I'm taking it all in. I was listening to y'all's words.
Okay.
We want to hear about you, too. So, one thing I was thinking about with your driver, we've got the same situation at a plant. We've got a container that is not in the ideal spot. But one thing I've learned dealing with different employees, and I've been frustrated at times and just, can't figure out, why can they not see something the way I see it or not understand exactly how we're wanting to do something. And I finally figured out with some of them that you have to figure out if you have the right person in the right position. I've had great people that I thought would be a good fit, hire them, and just pound my head against the wall, trying to figure out why it's not working. And then it's as simple as I don't have them in the right position. We put them on a different task, and it works out great. And we've got a driver that goes to this plant, and every time he goes, it's a big ordeal. He calls the office. Y'all have got to get him to move this container. You've got to get it moved. It's in a bad spot. I can't get in and out of there. Well, we've got two other drivers, and when they go, they don't say a word. They're able to get it. It's not a big deal. The plant, I've made multiple requests for them to move it, and they just basically don't even respond most of the time. So the simplest fix for me has been I just don't send that driver back anymore. Now, depending on how busy you are, may not have that luxury, but we've just decided now that one driver does not go back to that location, and it's not been a problem. So I think a lot of times is just looking at the individual and figuring out why is something not working and what fits best for that individual, because it's not every situation is different. So that's something that I've had to learn over time with the different employees, and especially on positions other than the trucking side, the scale operator, for instance. I mean, most of the time when we fill a position here, it is very hard to find somebody that has any experience working in a scrapyard.
Do you like the fact they don't have any experience working in a scrapyard, though, so you can kind of build them up into your culture and the way you do things and not break any bad habits?
I do, and I don't mean it bad, but most of the time when people come and they say they have experience, they've sold scrap at a scrapyard, but they've never worked at a scrapyard.
Yeah.
And when they think they know, it seems like a lot of times they know a lot of the wrong things. So I would much rather them have little to no experience and us be able to train them, to the way that we would like to, have things done.
You just have some solid people that can do some really good training. I commend you for that.
Well, it's ever changing, but we're lucky. I mean, we've hired through the last probably 2 years. We have been hiring just for labor positions through a temp service, and it's been a real challenge because we've done that because we've had such trouble finding people. Going through the temp service has been a challenge, and we may go through 10 or 12 people before we get one that'll even make it a month. But as y'all probably know, a lot of the folks that we hire at a scrapyard either love it or hate it, and you've got to find that person that loves it. And we've been lucky. We've got probably, I would say, half of our people have been here probably 5+ years. We've got a couple 20-year guys. So it's just, you got to find somebody that doesn't mind to get down and dirty and fight the elements. But it seems like when you find that person, a lot of time that's all they want to do.
Yeah, I think that's great. Like both your yards, both your employee base has been there for 5+ years. I mean, a lot of them 5+ years. I mean, that's just a testament to a well-built culture, well-built workflow, and communication between the management all the way down, and the training procedures. That could be difficult in its own right, like just to train the new guys. I personally like when we get a new guy that doesn't have any experience, but he likes to ask a lot of questions. I like the guys that just are willing to ask you a million questions. What's this, and not assume. That's what I tell all our new guys. Like, the guys that ask the most questions are the ones that succeed.
I'm the exact opposite. I want someone that knows more than me and can teach me what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah, no, that's valuable in its own right. Absolutely. So, but
I am no genius by any state or stretch of the word.
And Andy, going back to your driver that was uncomfortable with that customer of yours, is that just a comfort level that he didn't feel safe doing that job because it was kind of in a tight spot? Is that what it was to you?
I think that's part of it, but he's just a different personality type. He's a super nice guy, very dependable, but I think the only freight he had ever hauled before he came to work with us was dry van freight over the road, in and out of docks, not real tough deliveries. So, it's been a little bit of an adjustment for him to, go on different job sites and go to plants and getting dumpsters that aren't, in a dock. It's you've got to be a little more open-minded, and it just seems like some of these we've got a couple older guys that have been flatbed haulers and haul heavy equipment, and it just seems like they do a little better or a little more comfortable. I shouldn't say better, but a little more comfortable around some of these different sites that we run into.
Gotcha.
I want to ask you guys about general managers or operational managers. Do they do a lot of work outside along with the laborers, or are they strictly just managing and coordinating?
I think it's got to be a combo. I think you got to earn your stripes with those guys. You got to be able to go do the dirty work with them, and you got to be able to. You also have to be able to know how to do the job, and show that you've done it. So you got to find that sweet spot where you can go do it, show them, but you do also have to do some of the management level stuff where you're also checking on other things, because if you spend all day torching radiators or doing something like that, and then neglecting going to the other spots, you wouldn't be able to see that. So in my experience, the ones that succeed in the supervisor level, management level, are the ones that are willing to go out there and unload that back of a pickup for the customer too, while that guy's on his break. There's no job that's too. Yeah, there's no job that's too. It should never be looked at like that job's too low for me, because that when you start thinking that way, you're gonna lose all your respect, and then it's just bad for the employees. Like, when they see you out there willing to do what they're being asked to do, you're just gonna gain that respect. That's my stance on it, at least. So
I agree. Andy, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree, and we're not a huge yard. It's my dad, my brother, and myself that run the business, and we are the general managers. We're out there.
You sound like me. You sound like us over here.
I think we're probably very similar. And I'm out there. I'm on the forklift every day. I'm in the material handler every day. The three of us are always very active. Now, we may not be out there with them all day long, but our presence is known on the yard, at all times, and they know that we're willing to get out there and do the same things that we're asking them to do. And I think it does go a long way.
Well, and you, Mikey, after we did the clubhouse last week, I jumped on a FaceTime call with you, and I think you were working the scale house, right? I thought you were.
I was working the non-ferrous scale.
Yeah, non-ferrous scale. Yeah, you were.
Because my guy was out with whatever, and I was, I have a non-fair scale supervisor, and then he has an assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when one guy's out and one guy has to use the bathroom or have lunch or something like that, only me or my brother are the only other two that can run it.
Yeah.
Mike, I have a question for you. Does your yard take shifts for lunch, or do you all shut down?
It's very funny. We do not shut down. We try to have everybody take shifts, but it's not always done in the manner that we like to do it. And it's very unfortunate, but, sometimes we're scrambling during lunch. Like my non-fair scale supervisor and assistant will go in shifts, and a couple other guys outside will. Like I have two guys in the material handlers. One guy, they're supposed to go in shifts, and so on and so forth. It's not a perfect science, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, I was just curious. For a long time, a lot of years, we did that, and it just got to where it was a constant. Somebody was upset because they didn't get a long enough lunch, and it just seemed like it was really hard to navigate. So we tossed around the idea, and finally we just shut the yard down for lunchtime. And we thought that it was going to be, we didn't know how the customers were going to respond, and it took about a week of everybody getting used to it, and it has been really, really good for us, I think.
How long have you been doing this now? Just recently?
No, we've been doing it a few years, probably 3 or 4 years.
How long do you shut down for? An hour?
We shut down for 45 minutes.
Okay.
Now, if somebody needs longer, we'll work it in and we'll let them. If they, our lunch is 45 minutes, but we work with them on it. But it's been good. It's solved a lot of problems for us.
Well, that's good. Do your customers kind of form a line at the gate waiting for you,
when it's nice out, we'll have the after lunch rush that everybody looks forward to, because we'll have a line. And the only people that probably don't like it will be somebody that's not a regular, that has not been here often.
Mm-hmm.
If they maybe don't see it posted. We'll have somebody like that every once in a while be a little disappointed about it. But another reason we did it is there's another scrapyard in town not far from us, and they do the same thing. So it's kind of like, if a customer doesn't like it and they leave, they go across town. Well, he's closed too.
That makes it easier to do that.
It does. It does.
That's good though. I mean, you'd listen to your employees, and you made a decision that worked out better for everybody. It sounds like that fixed that problem, made them happier. So.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's a perfect answer to it, because when we shut down, we run into the customers that come in right before lunch, and they, when we've got a set lunch, everybody wants to take it right then. So you get a little bit of a situations you have to work with, but it's been good, I think.
Do you guys run Saturdays?
I love it. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. Are you guys open on Saturdays, both of you?
We are, yes.
You are? Andy?
We're not. We will come in and work some Saturdays when the weather's nice, but just in general, several years ago, we quit opening on Saturdays. We used to be just for half a day, but we're not any longer.
That's what we do. We do 9 to 2 over here on Saturdays, and in our main non-ferrous yard, our Boise yard. Not so all our other yards are closed on Saturday, but we have an option for the customer if they need to scrap, or if they can't make it in through that Monday through Friday time slot. They got a few hours on Saturday they can come in, and then our employees that want the hours, they can have them. So.
That's nice.
But that's what we do. Well, let's. If you guys have anything else to add, go ahead.
I
But
do. I had one more thing I wanted to ask about. What point of sale systems do you guys use, and how deep do you go with them? Do you use them for dispatching? Do you use them for your inventory, like printing, the tags that go on your bales or boxes? Do Do you do bill of ladings and packing lists and so on and so forth?
We use Scrapware, and we use that for our dispatch, our purchases, our sales, our inventory. We just use we handwrite our inventory slips and put them on the material. And there's
you handwrite your slips?
We do on our production scale, and then they're manually entered into Scrapware so we can track it on what finished product we have.
You don't use like a printed one that can be water resistant or anything?
No,
like that?
So we do run into problems when we tag something and it sits somewhere and then the tag gets old. So we do run into that every once in a while. We have been looking at Drake and Wyatt's new one, the Rematter, and I think you're on that one, right?
I have been with them since, I don't know, the middle of last year, and I use it for dispatching, and I like it a lot. It's really helped me streamline and make my life and training a dispatcher much easier.
Were you using a program before that?
I was not. We were using Google Sheets.
Oh, yeah, that'd be tough. Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, it worked pretty well. It's just not a good enough program for tracking, and it's just not a program. It was just made up.
Yeah, but I mean, you made it work, but
correct.
Yeah, Mikey's been one of our earliest and best customers we've had, but we. All those inventory management, point of sales modules and whatnot, we're close to being done and going into beta soon on those, because the end-to-end system is ultimately the end goal of Rematter and what we're building.
Yeah, I love seeing your updates, Drake, on what you guys are building over there. I think what you guys are on to is going to be cool when it's all said and done. So.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's crazy how good of a tool LinkedIn is for reaching folks in the scrap industry. Just those little GIFs that we send over in the emails or throw on LinkedIn, get really strong engagement with it. So, I think you guys do a great job with it as well. So trying to emulate that in our own work and outreach. Oh
yeah, the amount of people I've met through not just LinkedIn, I mean Instagram, Facebook, all the different platforms has been awesome, man. And if you're willing to take the time and do it, I think you could really find things that your business will benefit from, or,
Time is the key. Taking the time to do it is the key phrase there.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt. How about you, Andy? Are you using any of those systems?
So we're using Scrap Dragon, and we're on the old Scrap Dragon Classic, and we just have the buy side. We do not have the sell side modules, so that's something that I've been looking at. We cannot print or track inventory by tags, barcodes, any of that. So we're old school.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like you're using Scrap Dragon the same exact way we are.
I think so. And we're old school, handwritten tickets. I think, Mikey, I'd asked you in the past about your tickets. I'd saw pictures of them on your Instagram story. But we tag them and keep a little spreadsheet. It's by far not the best system, so looking forward to finding something else in the future.
So what about, you've never looked into Scrap Dragon for using it? All of the other, they offer a bunch of features.
Yeah, I have, but you were talking about taking the time. I would like to take the time to look at some other systems before I make that much of a commitment, because I think the last time I had talked with them about it, it was $10,000 to upgrade to that side. They're no longer, you could not update it with the Classic like we have. You would have to go to the Extreme.
Yep.
And then, what are your monthly costs? Is it around $175?
I have no clue what they are. I'm sorry.
See, I think we're paying around $175 a month just for the support on the Classic, but we would have to upgrade to the Extreme, and then I think the monthly was up to you have to buy the module and then pay $500 a month, which I'm not against, but I would like to take the time to see what else is out there that may even be better I'm just not really sure at this point.
Have you, and you haven't demoed anything else?
I haven't yet. No.
Did you
I
demo
wanted
the
to.
Snapdragon one or no?
So we've had that for years, and my dad actually went to an Esri show and bought it out there. I don't know, 15 years ago, and I was not involved with that at all.
So you didn't demo the new Snapdragon Extreme?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I've not demoed that yet.
So you haven't really demoed anything yet.
No,
You're so my brother Elliot, who I don't even know if he's listening anymore, my partner. Hi El. I'm not looking at the screen, so I don't know. Sorry. He's been demoing a bunch right now because we really want to upgrade to being able to print our inventory tickets for, like a nice label maker. And we're not 100% certain if we want to do Snapdragon with that. So, going further is trying Scrap Right or Century 21 or I can't even remember all the names he's told me. But, we're trying to incorporate it better because right now we're running Rematter for our dispatch, Snapdragon for our buying. We have an Excel program that we've developed many years ago for our inventory. And then we have another Excel sheet that we run that tracks our value of inventory and our, another Excel sheet for our receivables. And then we use QuickBooks. We have a bunch of different things. And I don't hate them all. I don't hate having everything separate. I almost would buy another computer and just buy a label maker and do that. I don't necessarily think that's a terrible idea. But anyways, we're checking into some of these other ones, and I'm surprised that you guys, Nick, are not using something a little more. I was hoping you were, I guess, so that I could understand it better from you guys.
We've been happy with Scrapware. I mean, there's some things on it that we wish were better. I wish it worked on like an iPad, for instance. You know what I mean? Like things like that. But overall, like we've made it work, and we do most everything in there.
Nick, just tell them we're just cheap that way.
Okay, Brad, that's what you're going to chime in for? You're cheap? Come on now. You post those pretty trucks every day. What are you talking about?
We focus our resources.
Smart. I like it.
But we've been looking at what Drake and Wyatt are building over there. We've been watching. So.
Yeah, I mean, I really like their dispatching software. It's really, I did a lot of research, and they caught me at a really good time because I was going to sign up with Crow, I think is the one that I was going to go with. I can't remember exact. I think it was them. But when they caught me, I was literally about to figure something out, and I was like, oh wow, these guys are developing something. Well, maybe I can help tailor it to the way I want it to be, and we worked together. They worked. I gave them all of my annoying input of what I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
They took a lot of it, and it's really good. I like it a lot. Obviously, they've done way above and beyond and are way smarter, tech savvy, and made it work. But with me being on the ground here, I think I really helped them tailor it with my driver's input and me actually I'm the dispatcher, so I like what they built because I've been able to use it pretty easily.
How do your drivers get their dispatches? Is it on like their phone, or do you have a printed copy you hand them?
So they get it on their phone. There's an app that they download, and we commit them runs, and they pop up on the app, and then they click on buttons, confirm, what is it? I can't remember the exact words that they use, but Drake could tell you better than I can. But, they click through, like, okay, they picked up the dumpster, they arrived at the plant, they switched out the dumpster, they're en route, and then they complete it, all that sort of stuff.
So it's real time. So it updates in real time. I love that.
It's fantastic. That's exactly what I wanted to see. so that I don't have to annoy them with calls all the time.
Because we'll look through our dispatch system, and that's something we have to close manually with the paperwork the driver hands in at the end of the day. So if I'm going in there wondering if the so-and-so customer got taken care of, I'll have to call our dispatcher. They'll have to call the driver. But I've seen systems like that. I've seen Drake's demo on his, and I think that feature right there is so valuable to just have it close out in real time. And if your driver closes out with the bin numbers, I think there's value in that too, because then you don't got another person closing it all out. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know which bin is at which site for how long, what's in inventory, and you can pick for them which bins you want them to grab.
Yep.
So, like in our area, we've got, I'm sure you do too, but we have so many different size bins, and then we've got sealed bins, and it's just, it's a lifesaver because we were still doing it semi-electronically, you could say, before this, where I would text them the run list the night before.
Yeah.
But when a driver's doing 3 or 4 runs a day, you kind of want to, make sure you're on schedule. So without me having to see them completing the jobs, I would have to check in every so often. I still check in when a job is running longer than I project it would have taken. But this is it's so much smoother and so much easier to train somebody because the information is there.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
One thing that I will add, since I know Drake and Wyatt are on here, is, and this is just my 2 cents on this as far as the software, whether the dispatch component, the purchase component, inventory, I would think about, obviously, cost of implementation, also whatever that bill is going to be to add nodules or add components to it. But I think one thing I really appreciate about say Sean Davis over at the Davis Index, Sean Davidson, is he's really taken more of a low cost, high volume approach and really tried to pick up the small, medium size operators. And I would really take a hard look at a guy like Sean Davidson or a company like that and trying to team up with them and say, all right, is there a way that we can approach this and where we can help each other out, especially where you're trying to build up that side of you're trying to build up that business and get awareness. I think Sean's done a really good job, and I don't know Sean that well, other than I just liked his approach when I talked to him on building up that Davis Index. I think there could be some synergies there with Wyatt and Drake and how you guys go about building that business.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we actually spoke to Sean pretty early in our process and think he's doing good stuff. Anyone who's in the space trying to improve the technology and making information more accessible is definitely worth it. So yeah, definitely
both have big tech, tech backgrounds. Sean's a tech guy. I think that you guys, there's something there, and I don't know, just by talking to both of you individually, I think that you guys should at least think about collaborating somehow how you guys could help each other.
Yeah, most definitely. And Nick, going back to what you were saying earlier too about making life easier on your scale operators and systems being disjointed, that's one of the big things that we have coming in our scale ticket, which it ties right into dispatch, and you can create tickets straight from it. And that, from talking to so many recyclers, that sounds like one of the biggest problems with software is they don't talk to each other, so there's a lot of redundant data entry and whatnot, so trying to cut down on that seems like a great opportunity.
And the Sean Davidson, I liked his approach on, like Brett was saying, how he's just trying to get the cost as low as possible to do it. He's more looking at it like he wants his thing to be like Microsoft Word, because he sees value on just pushing it out to everyone, is where everyone could get it. Because I get what you're doing, Drake and Wyatt, on all that. Not a whole lot of people are gonna need that software, so you can't necessarily get it to the price points as a Microsoft Word or something like that. But his philosophy on how can I do it this way and get my reach out there farther, I just like that mentality. on that. And I think that's a good recipe for some really good long-term business for him and you guys. So.
Definitely. Yeah, that's great advice.
Well, anyone else want to add anything? I'm not sure if any of the listeners can raise their hand. I've never tried that. But if anyone has any questions, if there's a button to do that, so be it. Or if any of the speakers want to add anything, go for it.
We talked about a couple of the things that I want to talk about. You know, I could literally talk about scrap and the intricacies of it all night. So you probably don't want to hear much more from me.
we can always add new topics next Friday too, you know.
You don't want me to burn them all out right now? Okay, I get it.
We'll text about the topics for next week. Okay?
That works. Brent, you didn't talk very much. Say something.
No, I just appreciate listening to you guys and kind of your guys' operations and what your guys' thoughts are. I'm a scrap guy. I could talk about scrap and listen to people talk about scrap all day. So for me, it's kind of right
like
up.
Me.
It is what it is. So, you know, like I said, I kind of like where this forum is going. I think that there's something here, and if we just keep kind of plugging away, I think we could kind of build something very cool where we're all communicating with each other, and we're all communicating how do we help each other, and because we aren't competing against each other. We're all individual operators in our own area, in our own region.
We're quite far away from each other.
I really feel like we can do each other a lot of, you know, positive by just talking about equipment, talking about software, talking about guys, I really appreciate, you know, how Andy, you talk about moving guys around and trying to find their sweet spot. You know, where can they benefit not only themselves, but where can they benefit the company the most? So I think it's stuff like that, just hearing other people's trials and tribulations and how they solve problems, that we can really benefit each other a tremendous amount by just, you know, picking up the phone once a week or whatever and bullshitting and saying, hey, what are you guys hearing over there? What's going on over there? What steel mill's trying to put the wood to you today? You know, type of deal. So just, I really appreciate, I like where this is going.
Yeah, we'll keep trying to push one out every Friday. I think that works. I hope that time works for you guys, that 1:30 Mountain works for you.
It's working right now, that's for sure.
Okay, well, we'll try it again next week.
Thanks, Nick. Are we able to let any of the people that are listening speak, or is that not possible?
I was trying to see, I don't know if anyone's tried it. I see a lot of...
Someone raised their hand. Lindsay did. Here, let's see. I put her on. Can you
oh, there you go.
There. I was just doing this so you guys can see how it works.
Yeah, you're so tech savvy.
There you go.
Yeah, so we all have an option to raise our hands. And then obviously you guys can choose who you can allow up, or you could kick somebody back to the audience if you wanted.
Perfect. All right. And Lindsay, you're over in California?
Yep.
Great.
So, there you go. That was it. I just wanted to show.
Okay. Well, I don't know. If everyone's good, I think we can wrap it up, and we'll do this again in a week.
Have a good weekend.
Good to me.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
I didn't realize how warm it would get in here with the door mostly closed.
Like freeze all day.
Hello.
What's up, dude?
I'm gonna take your intro. I got everything pretty much up to date. So all I need for almost everything is intros. The only thing left I need to work through is you and David's copper thing. When do you want that?